Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second segment of the March 4th episode of Trips and Traps. Andy Serling, Eric Donovan. We'll move a little later in the week.
3 more races to bring you. We'll pick up the action on Thursday. The track's still playing inside and still playing speed on Thursday. We're going to show you the 8th race. And, this race is, I think, a prime example of when the riders become attuned to the situation, how the race really can change and how the dynamics of the race can change when every rider on the track basically knows that the track's favoring inside speed. So let's roll the tape here. And we're going to see the 2-horse Like Now, who is one of the speeds in this race, come out. And also to the outside, Take the Bluff, the 6-horse, both of them in a similar position early, but Like Now is going to go on with it.
Yeah, and I think it isn't surprising because Like Now had the inside position and Take the Bluff figured he would raid off him rather than get stuck out into an all-out chase. The monkey wrench, of course, gets thrown in when another horse decides to go to the lead in this race and Yield Bogey decides to get involved in a protracted duel. Of course, Take the Bluff is dropped back too wide. On the inside of him is Rises the Phoenix, but of course Like Now is getting buried on the front end.
Yeah, this is a brutal trip for Like Now, and actually the jockey on this horse, Rosie Naprav, is going to, make about as heads up a move as you can make, and try to, take Like Now back a little bit off this suicidal pace. And Like Now is going to, let Yield Bogey go on with it here for a little bit. And the horses that are behind are in a good spot right now, but soon we're going to see Take the Bluff and Rise of the Phoenix start to make a little bit of a move from the back there to join these leaders. And I think this was, a little bit of a premature move. I think they went on the chase a little bit too soon here.
No question. And also, as you notice going into the turn, Rise of the Phoenix had the rail position and Take the Bluff was in the 2-path. The rider in Rise of the Phoenix could have stayed inside, let the other ones go, and instead ends up 3 wide. And while this is the right kind of ride to be giving at Belmont, per se, or around one turn here or on a somewhat fair track, now he's caught out 4 wide here. And of course, Like Now has already been used in the duel. He makes the first move again. Take the Bluffs 3 wide outside of him. Rise to Phoenix 4 wide. There's Numani sitting the greatest trip of all time. If he drops to a claiming race next time, betting against him as the favorite. But of course, all these horses used very hard up front.
I was almost most impressed here with Rise of the Phoenix, who hadn't run since September 30th. This was a big effort, I thought, from Rise of the Phoenix, although he's going to fade in the stretch here. And obviously the biggest effort in the race probably came from the 2-horse Like Now. I just don't know if you can count on him running another big race. His form's kind of been in and out a little bit, and we see just how the dynamics of the race unfold. You're going to see the winner of this race, Malibu Moonshine, who was never really on the screen at any point in the race, pick up the pieces late and blow by him.
He was a very lucky and fortunate winner of this race, and he highlights how poorly Numani ran, because Numani can't even beat Rise of the Phoenix. I agree, Rise of the Phoenix, he was running, this are pretty decent horses in this race. He could easily make a slight drop down in his next race, and I'll be interested to see where he shows up next time. You're right, I don't know how Like Now gets in the same situation, because if he won the race, he was going to do it taking advantage of a bias. And also, Take the Bluff, I've kind of had enough of him too. He's been very good all winter. I'm not knocking him. I just don't know where he really ends up going forward unless it's a wet track.
All right, let's take a look at the second race on this segment, and this is the third race from Saturday. Now, as we moved on to Saturday and Sunday, we both believed that the track became more fair and even. We're going to take a look at a few horses in here, the 3 Buddy's Holiday, the 5 Race for Speed, and the 1 Pay in Kind. Buddy's Holiday is going to get bounced around at the start, and we're going to show you the head-on after we go through the pan shot once around. We're going to highlight Buddy's Holiday, the gray in the middle. We see the 1-horse Pay in Kind here. Another gray, actually, is going to have some trouble later, and the 5 Race for Speed, all 3 horses toward the back of the pack here. And as I said, we're going to show you the head-on later to show you some of the trouble that Buddy's Holiday got into here. But as we play the race here, we see the race developing pretty fairly here, what Doc can do, making the lead, and we're going to see the 5-horse in here, Race for Speed, kind of get on the chase a little bit. Buddy's Holiday is a little bit hampered in between. Horses had to steady there, and Pay in Kind's down on the rail.
Yeah, all in all, in my opinion, I thought the winner, Dr. W, was the favorite. Had a pretty nice trip, but I thought he ran okay. I thought Pay in Kind of all the horses had the most trouble. I think we disagree a little here. The Pay in Kind was kind of shut off when you see him in the stretch late, but of course you do have other horses chasing outside behind, and that can take a toll.
Yeah, I think Race for Speed did a lot of chasing, 3 wide, just chased the whole way throughout, and was very game in here. Only got beat 3/4 of a length off that sweet trip that Dr. W had. We're going to pause it once again here and show you where Pay in Kind is down on the rail, and the red cap, the gray in there. Looks like, things will probably work out okay in here if Pay in Kind has finished, but things tighten up a little bit through the stretch as we roll the tape again, and we're going to see Pay in Kind getting some trouble through the stretch. I agree with you. I think Pay in Kind was the one that had a lot of trouble in this race.
No question about it, and hopefully we'll get to roll the rest of the race. There we go. And yeah, I thought he did too. All in all, I'm not so sure that anybody did anything dramatic in here. Buddy's Holiday is a horse who's had a lot of layoffs in his career, and he's obviously got some issues. And while he does have some trouble in the races that we're going to show, I wonder if the issues are more the factor here, and if we're not going to see him running for 35 next time he shows up. And, you know, I wonder a little bit, do we really want him going forward? Now, we're going to take a look at the head-on of that race, or
let's take a look at the head-on
he has in that race.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you don't really get a true gauge of the trouble that he had from the pan shot here, because we're going to see the head-on where he does get bumped from the inside horse there, and then is going to bump minorly with the horse that's outside. That's actually Dr. W there. So I think, you know, that's one piece of little problem that he had in the race. Not a huge problem, but one little thing that went wrong for him. We saw on the pan shot midway through the backstretch. Here you see him steadying it behind horses a little bit, and as we get to the turn, we're going to play it. It's going to take a little while to get to the point where he has trouble, but he's going to be in between horses and get bounced around a little bit. And we see here, you know, the leader in this race, Doc Can Do, kind of floating the outside horses out a little bit here. Dr. W is in about the 3 or 4 path. They're going to kind of tighten up all as they try to save ground on the turn here. And as we see the tower angle switch here, you see Buddy's Holiday in between horses outside the 2 horse there, get bounced around a few times. So, you know, 3 things that went wrong for Buddy's Holiday in the race. He squeezed out of that spot there and doesn't have any finish after that. You know, you can go either way with this horse. I think you could say he had enough trouble, enough incidents of trouble early on where you couldn't expect him to finish well. You could say, you know, maybe he's just not that good a horse anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the latter, that he's not that good anymore, and I'll see where he shows up next time. But you make a very valid point. If you want to excuse this race, you could say that he had enough trouble that you could just dismiss this race. Let's get on to our last race, and that was actually on Saturday. And this was a maiden race. It was the 6th race on Saturday the 28th. It was a maiden race, and we're going to start out by showing a couple of first-timers. In fact, the horses we're going to pretty much focus on are all first-timers. The 2 is Pax, a Billy Turner firster that you'll see break slowly. The 1, Brook Dance, another firster, Bernardo Callejas, broke a little slowly too. They took different routes in here. As you see, Pax is dropping back to last. He'll make a move late, but Brook Dance, he rushes up and gets into a protracted speed duel, and Brook Dance is about 19-1, I think, in this race. I thought he ran very well, and I'm not sure that Pax ultimately ran that well in this race.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with Pax. I think after the race, you were a little bit excited about how well he ran, and I was kind of a little bit cautious of it. But, you know, you see Pax getting, you know, moving up nicely here, not rushing up, just getting back in a contentious spot here. But then he's got to steady a little bit behind horses there, and I just thought Pax in that spot there, you know, probably doesn't do him any favors having to steady there. And a horse that you'll see as we roll it on is going to make a little bit of a move, but really not threaten that much.
Yeah, here's the thing. He got a good education this race, okay, because he had some trouble. He's down the inside. He'll angle out, so he can improve off that. But he was a heavily bet firster. I think he was around 4-1 in this race. And for Billy Turner firsters, could be big prices. This horse took money, and he delivered a little bit. My problem is he looks like he's supposed to be a clear second. The winner in this race, don't forget, comes from last. So the fact that Pax is closing shouldn't work against him. The winner's the last horse in the picture, splitting horses now, and he really hangs for second. I thought Brook Dance, when you consider the dynamics of the race, broke a little slowly, rushed up to duel outside, and he hung in extremely well, losing a photo for second to Manchild, who was the favorite, who's third now. Manchild's a horse I can't wait to bet against him the rest of his career. There's Pax making the move. I think he hangs a little bit at the end. And another horse behind them is Driven by Serling, who is a first-time star for Bruce Levine. There he is, finishing about 5th there. He's another horse that I think will improve off this effort. He might want to stretch out, but if you look at him, he looks like a horse that just needed a race.
Yeah, I agree. It seemed like a horse that will stretch out the second time out and probably benefit a little bit from that. Pax him on the fence, and I'm also on the fence a little bit about Brook Dance. Yeah, he ran a big race here. You know, usually when I'm betting second-time starters, I'm looking for horses that I think are going to improve, horses that might not have run their A race. And I think you kind of got to see what everything Brook Dance is made of in that race, where you know he's going to show speed. I just don't see that much physical improvement from him second time out. This is a horse that was debuting as a 5-year-old here last week.
I agree with you, but if he gets his right speed situation, he's good. I think he ran a good race. I'm against Pax next time, and Driven by Serling, I am really looking forward to betting the next time he runs. And that does it for this week's episode of Trips and Traps. Once again, remember the email address, tripsandtraps@NYRA.com. We appreciate any and all of your thoughts, positive and negative. We like to hear criticisms. I'm Andy Serling, Eric Donovan. Thanks for watching.